Hey, it's Dr. Ed. We have so many amazing people who bring their whole families in here, especially children. And I want to go through the science on why it's so important to get children checked. So this is for all the parents, and you know who you are, who know to get your kids in here and get them checked, your grandkids, your nieces, your nephews. And I'm going to explain the why we often see so many positive changes in a child's health when they start specific and scientific upper cervical chiropractic care on a consistent basis. Okay. So a lot of what I'm going to share right now is very applicable to children, but obviously it's applicable to adults also. So this will even go with your care also. If you're like, oh, I was always wondering that, this might bring some clarity to that. So a lot of times people think the presence or absence of health, like if we're healthy or we're not healthy, is based off how we feel or if we have a diagnosis or a named condition. Okay. Now, true health is not based off of symptoms or lack thereof. All right. It's actually based off of adaptability of the human body. Because I'm sure we've all heard of somebody who was healthy in their 50s and then all of a sudden they pass away the next day with a heart attack or stroke. But the day before, they didn't have any named conditions or anything like that. Okay. So if with that definition, you could challenge it because you could be like, were they healthy the day before they passed away suddenly? Right. And I think we could all agree that if someone passes away suddenly the next day, aside from the situation of a catastrophic event, they probably weren't healthy. Okay? So, that being said, a better definition of health is how well the body can adapt to the stressors it faces, internal and external stressors. Now, to truly get health, the human body needs to have all of its essential needs fulfilled. Now, that goes from oxygen, water, food and nutrients, sleep, nerve function, temperature regulation, waste elimination, and movement. All right. Now, if you look at this picture right in front here, you might be like, oh yeah, that all makes sense, right? What I want you to think about is this. We are only as healthy as the essential need we're getting the least amount of fulfillment. So if, for instance, we're exercising, we're drinking proper water, we're getting adequate sleep, right? We got a proper shelter, so we got proper temperature regulation. We're not overheating or in hypothermia, right? But we're only getting 50% of the oxygen intake that's needed for our body to thrive. As you can understand, our health is going to plummet to that level. It's going to affect everything from inflammation, organ function, our brain function, so on and so forth. Like literally every single cell, tissue, organ will be negatively affected by the oxygen deprivation. In the same respect, nerve function is one of the most important essential needs we have. And I'm saying it's the most important. The moment we don't have nerve function is the moment we're on to the next life. We're with the good Lord or wherever we go, right? That's immediately the moment it ceases is the moment humans are no longer living. Okay? Now, what happens a lot of times is there could be physical trauma. It could be birth traumas are so common. Think about your kids. Sports injuries. There's like football, basketball, cheerleading, horseback riding. Whenever there's significant slips, falls, and it doesn't even have to be sports. It could be falling off the bike. It could be learning to walk. If there's enough of a force that it creates ligamentous and tendinous injury, where the vertebrae in your spine, so in your spinal column, especially near where the brainstem comes down to the upper neck, what happens is the moment that pressure is there from a vertebra sliding out of place and putting pressure on that spinal cord or putting dysfunction within the spinal cord and the brainstem, from that point forward, the body's not getting proper communication through those all those nerves in your body. The brain to body signals, which we're talking are in the trillions every few seconds, are now diminished or distorted. So when you're talking about not getting an essential need, how many people are walking around, especially our children, right, that are growing at the fastest rate? Children are going to grow at the fastest rate for humans than any other stage of development. How is that affecting every cell, tissue, organ, all immune function, thought processes, right? When you're talking about attention or emotional regulation through like their brain and everything. How is that being affected when there's consistent nerve pressure? All right. So this here, what I'm explaining is from nerve function. Everybody else knows most of these essential needs are needed, right? But a lot of times nerve function's overlooked. And for me, it's mind-blowing. For us upper cervical chiropractors and anybody who knows about the nervous system and its function, it's one of the biggest secrets for people when it shouldn't be, because it's absolutely essential for health. So this is why it's so important to get checked. In our office, as you know, you've been bringing your kids here. We do pre-neurological testing to find out how their body is functioning. And then we take the 3D imaging if it's showing it's needed, if there's pressure, so we can find out how to care for that person. And then when it indicates, again, we'll take a follow-up to see the improvements, right? If we can get those vertebrae in a better position, help the body get the vertebrae in a better position, it's going to open up the canal for nerve function, blood flow, the fluid called cerebral spinal fluid that bathes the whole central nervous system and eliminates toxins and provides nutrients to it. And what that does is it allows that child to develop healthy, to have the proper essential nerve function to grow healthy. So it's not, the person is not growing tissues that might not be the healthiest because it's not getting proper nerve function, or the organs might be down regulated. Now think about what a lot of children have. We're talking attention issues. We see a lot before they start care here: asthma, ear infections, chronic ear infections, headaches and migraines, chronic neck pain, all this different stuff, and even more, okay? So I'm going to show you a case here of an individual who's been under care for 2 years. Parents are awesome. They're like, no, he needs to come in, and have noticed big changes in his health. And this is the changes that we see often in the office. So check this out. This here is a before image, okay? So this is from back to front. And what I want to show you here is look at the head tilt on how strong it is to the left, okay? This was his natural position. You can see how the whole neck is bending from behind. This is the back of his neck, right down to his shoulders would be here. There's his jaw, okay? And look at that. Imagine the kinking that's there on that brainstem level when this is his neutral position. We took follow-ups 2 years later. A lot of times we'll take them more frequently. This was between this image and then 2 years later, he was due for another set, okay? And look at the changes that happened in his body. That's now. Look at that head tilt. Look how it's level now. Look how the neck is straight up and down. Okay, before, after. Before, after. How profound is that? How much better do you think the space would be when the lowest part of the brain comes to here? How much more open would that canal be? How much better would the blood flow going to and from his brain? How much better would the cerebral spinal fluid be when you think about a kink in a hose when there's a natural kink? And I just want you to know, if we take imaging, and we've had people that go to Florida for 3 years, they barely started care, and then they come back, and we get imaging on them. If there's no new trauma, and there's no care given, the imaging, like, you can almost overlap the images because the injury is the injury. It's like if somebody has a dislocated shoulder and it's not reset, it'll look similar between imaging. Okay, so a change like this is no small thing. Now check this out. We're going to look at a bird's eye view here. All right, and this is a bird's eye view. So this is the opening of his skull. The back of his head would be here. His right ear would be here, and his left ear would be here. And this is the atlas vertebra. And there's the C2, the axis. Now remember, the brainstem comes through here. The arteries are going to be on the outside, but they're going to come up, or the vertebral arteries will come up through the back of the skull here. So think about how important this area is. It's literally the most important area of your whole body, because your brainstem comes through here. Your whole brain funnels through this small area that controls all life. Now check out the after. They're specific and scientific, consistent, specific and scientific chiropractic care. I want you to look at the space now in between here, because the skull is sitting so much better on the atlas here. Okay, look at this space here. Then after gentle adjusting, look at this space between the atlas and C2, and then between the atlas and the skull. That's before, after, before, after, before. Look at that. Look at this here again. After. How cool is that? Okay. That's why we get so excited when we're blessed to care for kids. And my kids have been cared for since they were born. Because when you're talking about nerve function, this will absolutely transform their whole health moving forward, from when they go from infant to child to adulthood. And that's why our adjusting is so specific and it's so gentle. So we can help the body function the way it's designed. We're not adding or taking away anything from the body. We're just getting it to function the way it's supposed to, especially when there's been injuries that happen at such a young age. So if you've been bringing your family in, great job. Thank you for giving us the opportunity. And this is a bit of the why you might see those positive changes and why we get so excited to care for kids. Thank you for everything you do. We love and appreciate you.